What's up, guys? How are you? Thank you for clicking on the video today. So you are watching another episode of Night Drive Live. I'm happy to be with you. My name is Damian Knight. Hold on. I got an interruption. My name is Damian Knight, so I'm coming to you live, folks, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of car news here. Today, obviously, on screen, we're going to talk about this concept, which is not brand new, but I think is very telling as to some things that may be ahead in the future, and so that's what we're going to get into here today. Also, we're going to talk about the 2021 Camaro, small changes, but obviously, I think big changes in the future, and I think that's something that I'm going to talk about, the architecture, what I think GM's intention is moving forward. And so these are going to be some details that you're going to want to hear. If you're a car person, you want to keep up with what's current, then that's what we're going to have to get into. And that will lead back into this concept out of Toyota. So we're going to do a little off-road, a little EV today, kind of just centralize it around that. And then I got a few surprises at the end, a little bit of race car action. So you're watching Night Drive Live. Forced induction fabricator, engine management tuner, shop owner. I wanted to start a daily show about everything automotive. You're watching Night Drive Live. Alrighty, folks. Well, thank you for watching the show here today. Obviously, if you're watching this as a recorded version after the live show already ran, please go ahead and check out some of the other videos. Kind of doing a live show. This is my third week on it. We're constantly refining things. We got a few hiccups here and there, but basically the goal of the show is to just keep everybody up to date, and we talk about a lot of different things: sports cars, off-road, EVs. Just try to keep up with some current things, but then we obviously take a few detours here and there and talk about forced induction and all kinds of different types of subjects. Obviously, if you throw a comment in the live chat, I will see it. And so, Ghost, what's up? He says, how are you? Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. We have a lot of, recurring viewers at times. We have some new ones. So if you've never watched the show before, obviously, we're just going to keep on working and keep refining. So the reason I have the 2021 Camaro on screen here is I wanted to talk about the Camaro a little bit today. It's just a car that has struggled in some ways. Lots of people love it. Obviously, right now it's running third in its segment in terms of sales, and so GM, while we have seen some mid-engine concepts and some different things to kind of keep up with the Corvette, I think the overall information that's kind of leaked out from various sources in GM is that Camaro is facing another sunset order, and that means right off into the sunset. So that obviously happened in 2002. The Camaro returned, I believe it was in like 2010, something like that. And so, it's tried to make a good run, but again, it's behind the Mustang. And so I think internally GM is doing a lot of different things. And so let me show you just something that came out recently here, and I'm gonna kind of zoom in on this. Let me see how this shows. So this, I paused this section of the tweet that came out of GM, but they talked about, we know the sunset order is pretty much in for the Camaro. This year, the only thing they've really added is the 1LE SS package. You can now get the 10 speed, so that's something that some people want. It's pretty good training from what I understand. Haven't driven it, but it's definitely a lot snappier than the A8. It's a paddle-shifted torque converter automatic, but pretty quick shifts, pretty on demand. That was a transmission co-developed with Ford, and so there's definitely some quality there. They're trying to just kind of trickle out little things to keep it selling until the end. But this was a tweet out of GM, and they were just doing outlines of future EV possibilities with the BEV3 architecture that they're developing, and this curiously looked somewhat like the Camaro. So if there is a future for the Camaro, I think this is probably going to be it. And Ghost, you say, are they really going full electric? Well, I'm going to show you here in a second as to why it may be definitely possible, and it's either probably going to be dead or it's going to be electric. So I'm going to show you a little bit of things that I have here from SEMA in 2018 that I think will probably give you an indication that that's probably going to be the case. But let me switch screens here and show you a little bit about what GM is kind of laying out. and so that you kind of understand what the architecture is going to be moving forward. So in the center, they call these the centroid entries. They outline a luxury SUV and an SUV compact. So they have been kind of upfront. Mark Royce and Mary Barra, they have said that the EV platform, the BEV3 architecture, which is this right here, is going to lead off with a Cadillac. It is probably going to be a Cadillac crossover or compact SUV. I believe it's called the Link. I'm not sure. I'd have to check on that. But regardless, that's where it will lead off. And as you can see here, they have a different branches of this. And so the best chance we have here to see a Camaro is these two, expressive and efficient. And so the electric platform was pretty straightforward. The goals of the BEV3 are simply to make electric cars and make it profitable, and that's literally the only thing that they are talking about. So the way that they're going to do that, the key to that is the battery technology, and that really comes down to higher energy density. And so that's what we're going to talk about here briefly, but I'm going to get to showing you some pretty crazy Camaros if you've never seen them, and some Mustangs with electric power, so hang on with me. But I just want you to understand this. So higher energy density, the way that these manufacturers build EVs and price them equal to fuel cars, is to get to $100 per kilowatt in terms of battery density. And so basically that's what GM is working on with LG Chem. And so they have talked about here, they have an all-new battery system, flexible modular design, high power DC fast charging, and so it's just a skateboard essentially. All the batteries are tucked down in there. And so the interesting part of what they've put together is, so this would be the thinnest profile, and this is where the internal in these modules, they can turn the cells different directions. And so the way Mark Roos described it is it's like ice cubes in an ice cube tray, and you can kind of choose how much you fill them, how you fill them, which ones you fill, and you can create a lot of different types of platforms. And so this is the thinnest version. Well, actually, this is the thinnest version, if I do recall. And so this is where they are laid, the cells inside are laid down horizontally, and then in areas where they need to stack them, they stack them. But this keeps a very thin profile for short car, low roof line, things like that. And so when you get into a truck chassis, as you can see, this is definitely a truck chassis, they can turn them on their side, and you get more energy density that way, so that they can pack in more power into big truck chassis and things like that. So that's kind of the foundation. This is the Bolt, the Chevy Bolt battery. And so the interesting thing is all these cells are in these battery packs. They all need to be wired together. If you have one bad cell here and there, the whole module needs replaced. Interestingly, moving forward, what they're saying is that each cell will have its own computer control and logic essentially built into it. So the future may be that you can replace individual cells within the module. Okay, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else about that. So let me point out here first, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to show you what I saw in SEMA 2018. And let me put this on screen in the right position. So I was in the SEMA booth, and this is 2018, and I'm gonna skip forward here to about somewhere right here. So COPO Camaros, if you're a fan of Camaros, COPO tried to kind of push the boundaries. They would basically show you that was a 427 car, fully built, usually 9-8 seconds drag. So we went around the booth, and as you can see here, these are definitely batteries in the trunk of this. This car was made a little bit of press, but not too much. It was a 9-second capable electric Camaro that was kind of just put under the brand of COPO, and basically it's an exercise for the engineers to push it as far as they can. And I think this was probably the hint to the fact that this is the kind of ways that these manufacturers kind of leak out, like what the engineers are working on, where their mind is going. And so here you have a Camaro chassis. You've got what they said was approximately 1,000 horsepower. The idea was with this package was to make it crate capable. So like you could buy a crate LS3, a crate LS1. You could buy a crate package here that's all put together. You got the battery controllers, the battery modules, the motors itself, and you could theoretically swap it in behind a typical bell housing, things like that. So that's what the idea of this concept was. But in hindsight, I think very much that this was probably a little bit of an indicator of where this all was going. So no surprise then that last year at SEMA, just this past November, we were in the Ford booth, and along came the horsepower equivalent Mustang that they had in the booth. Now, Ford didn't build this. They did say they outsourced it. But here you go. You've got two of the biggest name in pony cars, muscle cars, both showing off some pretty high power electric. And so I think, with the Ford Mustang Mach E, the Mustang Mach E, it's so confusing to see an SUV with a Mustang brand on it, in addition to the fact that it's all electric. Obviously, I saw that vehicle at CES, and so it's definitely, electrification is coming. The question is Camaro going to be included or not? Because either way, Camaro is leaving from all indicators. So, electric Camaro or no Camaro, I think that's what it's going to come down. And I will say that, there's no question Tesla has validated the fact that you can go fast with electric. It's not a question of can you accelerate a mass, forward in a very quick manner with electric power. No question, yes. The question becomes road course capability, things like that, regenerative. And so these are the things that I think we're going to see coming in the future. So, I'm open to it. I would rather see a Camaro than no Camaro at all. And I think GM may have a goal internally in their mind to say, let's come out with the first, all electric committed Camaro muscle car electric. I don't know. We'll see. So, Lil Unk, what's up? How are you? Android, how are you, man? So that's the deal with the Camaros. I keep up with the EV stuff. I love burning gas and making noise with it and all that good stuff. I keep up with this to be relevant because this is kind of where everything is going. I certainly ran RC cars, and electrics were more reliable than the gas-powered RCs for a long time. And, as batteries caught up, gas-powered RCs are fun, but, I think that scaling it all up, it makes sense as long as we can still go fast. I don't think many people will really mind. So we'll see where that goes. That's going to be a question moving forward. But so the other subject I wanted to bring up, and this is, there was a big leak. All these companies are kind of, creatively leaking right now to get some press time, because I think YouTube and, Twitter, all these major platforms, are just pushing news because of all the stuff that's going on. It's dominating people's brains. And I've seen my own analytics, my own videos, just the average views my channel gets per day over all the videos, it's gone down because people's, they're feeding you what they think you want to see. And if it's news, that's what's going to be. So the way that these brands have competed with this is just to put out leaks. And so what Toyota did, and let me show you, let's see, let me bring this around. I'm going to show you this. So they talked about the GR86, and that's the BRZ, the little, little compact sports car, basically, that's, small power, things like that. That leaked, and everybody jumped on that because there was a rendering that came with that. But if you looked way down in their tweet, let me see if I can highlight this. Way down in the bottom of the tweet, it said the Landcruiser, on the other hand, will be turned into a stripped-out off-roader and lose any sort of luxury focus in favor of hardcore off-roading. Nobody really did anything with this, and I was kind of surprised by that because I was like, wow, that's big news. Land Cruisers, they have a huge fan base. Internationally, Land Cruisers have been, always admired as far as their off-road capability to compete with, Range Rovers and things like that internationally. But in this country, that's actually the oldest platform that Toyota sells, is the Land Cruiser. They sold it here since the 1960s. So the interesting part with Toyota is, they've been trying to reconnect, I think, a little bit with that old, FJ60 type of old era Land Cruiser. And so the most recent thing we can remember is the FJ Cruiser. And so the FJ didn't do very well. And I think for a couple reasons, they did do the retro styling, tried to throw back to that. But I think the issue is that this vehicle was just poorly timed. The downturn kind of hurt it. And, in hindsight, had they put four doors on it, had they maybe just tweaked it a little bit, it might have endured, because the four-door Wrangler came out not long after that. So the question becomes is now, what happened with, Land Cruiser overall? And we know that this is the 100 series. They kind of maintained a little bit of enthusiasm. They were still very popular around the world. But then we got into these large, and this is the current Land Cruiser, and while they do incredibly well in the Middle East, it's still a brand that people love to buy in the Middle East. They're just not strong here. They only sold about 3,600 units last year, and so on top of the fact that it starts at around $85,000, it's pretty much lost its place. And so as you can see globally, I mean, they still do sell. This map was a little bit messed up because this is based on 10,000s, and they obviously didn't sell 36,000 in North America. But we have the Sequoia here as well, which is, the Sequoia is basically like a Suburban. And so here you have the Sequoia, and here you have the Land Cruiser. I think they just, I think they clash at the dealership, and so it makes sense for Toyota, at least in the United States, to do something with the Land Cruiser. And so, I came across this concept. This was a concept that came out a couple years ago, and it was kind of in an article as a Toyota, but this actually was a Mercedes concept of what they could do with the G-Wagon. And so, interestingly, we see these major global brands influencing each other and influencing trends. And so for Mercedes to have something like this with the G-Wagon, I think the idea certainly is aggressive off-road is coming. And we've seen that at SEMA last year with Little Unk. He was with me, and we went through SEMA looking at all the Jeeps. There wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough time or memory in my phone to record them all. So, off-road and the idea of getting off the beaten path, getting away from society, is getting more popular, and technology is allowing it. But this is an awesome concept. It will never see the light of day for just a myriad of reasons, but some very cool ideas and some very cool lighting schemes and just design overall. But with the Bronco becoming reality, we see the Bronco is getting produced. It is going to have this throwback. It's wow, the FJ Cruiser didn't work just literally a few years ago. Now we have the Bronco, which is essentially mirroring that exact same thing, but they are not going to make the same mistake. They are going to have 2 doors, 4 doors. They're going to have options. So the question I think becomes is, can Toyota revitalize the Land Cruiser brand in the United States, where we are definitely on the move to do more off-roading, get off-grid, things like that. That's what people enjoy doing. I know out in Nevada, we've got videos on the channel here just with our first-gen Pathfinder. We've done very basic budget mods, very inexpensive vehicle, but there's just something enjoyable, especially when you just anymore, there's just so much chaos and things in the cities. It's nice to get off the beaten path, go camping, and with technology today, little solar panels, lots of good camping gear. I mean, you can really, a cheap vacation, affordable vacation is possible. There's so much awesome, just awesomeness to see in this country. So I definitely think Toyota can really compete with Bronco. I think that they can let the 4Runner kind of almost switch positions to where the 4Runner is a little more daily driver-esque, but still capable, as to while they dedicate the Land Cruiser to just being a hardcore monster again. So I was looking for concepts to see, has Toyota hinted at anything? And they did have this concept. It was actually an FJ Cruiser concept. So it may be some hint, some idea as to where Toyota is going mentally in terms of design and design language and flavor. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, but obviously this is a concept, and concepts can get very aggressive. These can be more design exercises, but there are subtleties in there that usually end up seeing the light of day. So this was about the best, and this was an adventure concept. I think we're going to see crossovers try and also, crossovers kind of hit this fork in the road to where they're either going to be performance, road, pavement oriented, or maybe potentially more overland and adventure oriented. And so we've seen that at SEMA with the CRVs, even to where the Honda was putting little bit of camping gear on one. They're all-wheel drive. You can't get like a locked 4-wheel drive system, but inevitably Toyota is hinting at doing a crossover that's kind of adventure oriented. So I think Toyota is the brand to compete with Bronco and to compete with Jeep. So I think they have the ability in-house. I think they have the experience, and I really, really hope to see the Land Cruiser kind of make a big comeback and become just this hardcore monster, because I think that there's room for it. And so the question then becomes, is this Toyota FJ Cruiser going to be collectible? And, with just such a limited run, and not really a bunch of fan base, but essentially was a very capable vehicle. And honestly, for purists, I definitely think it will be. I think people will scoop these up for sure. I think that as this all resurges, I think that a lot of people are going to seek out these FJ Cruisers now in hindsight and try and grab one. So we'll see what happens. I don't have anything there, but yeah, I just wanted to close with this bit of video here. And you know, I miss manual gearboxes, I must say, and this isn't a fully manual gearbox, but I was looking, and I think I'm going to do a video on the best manual gearbox race cars of all time, because it is amazing. Today we paddle shift and sim race, and every race car is paddle shifted. It's two hands on the wheel. It's two pedals down in the footwell, and there was just such a great era of time to where F1 cars were manual gearboxes, and prototypes like super fast, crazy level race cars were just manual. And so it's just enjoyable to watch someone. This is a C5R. This is an older car that was raced in by Corvette Racing in the early 2000s, and obviously it's in private hands now. But they put this is a sequential dog box, and so it's a front upshift. Or downshift and pull to the rear upshift, but it still is required. You must clutch when you downshift, and you must throttle lift and when you upshift gears, just to release the load on the cogs. So I enjoyed watching it. I thought you might too. So what I want you to focus on here, I'm trying to get this zoomed, is his feet. You can see his middle foot on the brake. He is heel toeing. But this is a Corvette. This is like 650 horsepower, full-on race car, raced at Le Mans, and this is just driving that's already being lost. It's already going away. And we talk about electrics and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, this is still going to be this is where it was at. And it's the sound, it's the aggressiveness, it's the straight cut gears and the shuddering. This is all going to go away. We're going to lose this flavor in racing. It's going to become much more refined with electric. And I just don't ever forget that people at one time still raced some crazy fast stuff with a manual gearbox, both feet working. You can see he's got a great heel toe in the downshift area. Pedal up, I'll show you. If you watch his left foot, he is clutching, but it's very quick. Watch as he gets up to this turn. Good stuff, good stuff. So, I don't know, guys. I know looking at that makes me want to go out and drive my Corvette, but I am still working on my Z06, waiting for some more parts to come in the mail, and UPS is very slow, and things are just very backed up right now, so I'm not quite there yet. But let me see what any comments here. You were just typing about CRVs. I'd like to see the Acura take the MDX there. I mean, obviously Acura, we'll have to see. A lot of the SUVs, I mean, it's just a battle space. It's a battle space as to whether you go sport, whether you go off-road, in terms of and its pricing. And Acura is just Acura, Infiniti, a couple brands are just struggling to find their place and struggling for customers. So I don't know, what will happen to those brands in the coming future. It's anybody's guess, because they're just they've struggled to find their place. So I don't know. I guess that's going to be it for today. I'm going to be talking a lot more, trying to make more packaged videos, but throw me a like if you can. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. If you have never seen the channel, take a look around at some of our other videos. We do off-road, Corvette stuff, things like that. So try to just have variety, and I don't know. That's about it, guys. I appreciate you watching. Thank you as always, and I'll see you on the next one.